Hey there guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Dirt Bike Channel. I'm your host Kyle Brotherson, and today we're going to weigh this 2020 KTM 250 XC TPI. Stick around. So it's that wonderful time of the year, and I've gone ahead and filled this thing full of fuel. I came out to the shop and I realized I didn't have full fuel and I didn't have any fuel out in the garage, so I had to run down to the gas station and get fuel. You can see that it's all the way up here to the top. The way I do this, if you're new to the channel, is I fill the bikes full of fuel. If they take oil, you know, like two-stroke oil in this case, I fill them full and just make everything, you know, full of fuel, ready to go. I don't have any aftermarket parts on this thing. It doesn't have a skid plate. It doesn't have anything that doesn't come stock on the bike. And so we'll just see how much they weigh. Now keep in mind, weight on the scale does not always translate to weight on the trail. I know that. I've seen that many times over now, but it is nice to know kind of what they weigh as a starting point. So let's go ahead and again, it's the same commercial shipping scale that I use all the time. Every single one of the bikes, it's the same scale. So even if it's, you know, 1 pound different than your scale, it's a really good reference point because I'm using the same scale every time. And I've got all these dirt bike weights over on my website. If you go over to dirtbikechannel.com, I think it's under, what is it, under bike info. If you go to bike info, then I list all the weights of these bikes. So let's get into it. Okay, so the results are in. Again, full of fuel, ready to ride. This thing is 239.5 pounds. That is 108.8 kilograms. So you're probably thinking, hey, great. This is 3 pounds heavier, only 3 pounds heavier than last year's 250 XC, which I'll roll in right now because that bike was 236.5 pounds. But that's not the full story here, because this one dropped the kickstart and this only has like a 2.25 gallon tank. So we lost somewhere around 2 pounds of fuel, and we lost somewhere between 2 and 3 pounds. I don't know. Let's just call it 2 pounds on the kickstart. So actually this bike, instead of being 3 pounds heavier, in effect, it's more like 6 to 8 pounds heavier than last year's bike. And that's the added weight and cost and complexity of the TPI bikes. Now, we didn't go to TPI because we were clamoring for it. We went to TPI so that they could meet emission standards in Europe. So KTM was not going to be able to sell bikes. But it's funny because this bike isn't sold in Europe. So I don't know why the XC has to go to TPI because they don't sell this one in Europe. Anyway, I think they're just going all in on the TPI stuff, as we can obviously tell. So I hate the fact that they lost the Kickstarter. I don't like the fact that they dropped the size of the fuel tank because I want a bigger fuel tank on these things. So it's a mixed bag. I will tell you though, the 300XC TPI over there that's just out of the shot, I have ridden that bike and it runs really well. The first time I rode it, it was a little underwhelming. I'll do a video on that. I ended up adjusting my power valve on that and then woke the bike up a lot. I'm gonna do another video probably later today, filming like some of the protection parts that I put on these bikes, because this is how they come stock. I don't ride them this way. I always have to put a skid plate on and a few other protective parts like a rear disc guard. I'll go through that in that next video. But yeah, 239.5 is what it weighs, full of fuel and full of oil. So it is technically ready to ride, although if you're doing hard enduro type stuff, there might be some protective parts that you need to put on it. Anyway, that's how this bike, that's how much this bike weighs. Same thing with the 300. The 300s are the same exact thing. 250 TPI, 300 TPI, they weigh the exact same thing. It's all the same parts, it's just a little bit different stroke in the piston. Maybe a different bore in the piston, but everything else is identical. So if you like these videos, please remember to subscribe to the channel. If you want to support me, use the links down in the description. Use the links that I have over on dirtbikechannel.com, or go to Patreon, support me there. One of these two bikes is going to be a bike that we're going to give away. And be watching in October, November time, because we're going to be giving away either this bike or the 300 TPI over there away for Christmas. And I'm also going to be giving away my 2019 250 XC. So it'll be this bike, only the 2019 version of it. It's got Electron carburetor on it. I did that recently for you guys so that it'll run anywhere in the country. So I'm pretty excited about that. Stay tuned for those things. And until next time, I guess that's pretty much it. I've got to start putting some parts on this. I put a bunch of parts on the other bike, tubeless, and a bunch of things to get it ready to ride for my testing. I got to do the same thing with this bike. Okay, we'll catch you in the next video, guys. Thanks.